Hello, welcome to On Air, brought to you by Altitude Angel. I'm Stephen Farmer and I'm joined once again by my colleague Phil Binks, our Head of Air Traffic Management. Binksy, good to see you.
Good to see you. It's been such a long time.
It's been ages, mate.
I know. It's incredible.
Yeah, indeed. Right, today we're talking colours, mate. What are your favourite topics? I know you like to colour in.
Yeah, I do. I like a nice colouring book.
You do, don't you?
Do you stick within the lines or not?
Oh, always, mate, always.
Good skills.
Yeah, so no, we're going to talk about the colours that we use on Drone Assist and Drone Safety Map.
Yeah.
What they mean both here in the UK and internationally. Why we sort of choose those colours, and what they necessarily mean. Because obviously we want good airmanship, we want good flight practice, etc. So obviously one of the colours, or top of the colour chart here, we're going to talk about blue. So that's your NOTAMs and your sort of flight reports.
Yes. Yeah. So NOTAMs, they're notice to aviators. What are they there for? They are showing that there's a potential hazard to aviation in that site, or there's something that may affect the safe operation of flight. It could be a myriad of things. It can range from a frequency that's off for servicing. It could be a navigation beacon. It could be a release of balloons. You know, your fun fair, you get 1,000 balloons or something like that going off. More importantly, it could be a firework display, something along those lines. So it's a notice to aviators to say there is a potential hazard to flight. Have a look to see how it's going to affect. If you're operating your drone or even a manned aircraft, crewed aircraft, take note of what is going on in that area. So it's an information piece.
And the blues, so obviously with flight reports or NOTAMs, they tend to be temporary.
Yes.
Would that be fair?
Absolutely, yeah. So temporary, with a NOTAM, temporary could be just on for an hour. It could be a NOTAM to say such and such is happening now for a week. But it is absolutely very much a temporary instruction. So you might see something there when you plan your flight, but you're planning your flight, then you're actually operating in 1 month's time. In a month's time, before you flight, good airmanship is I have a look again to see what hazards there are. That is a good chance that NOTAM is no longer going to be there. And therefore you go, oh.
On the flip side of it, you plan your flight, there's nothing there, and then
absolutely, all of a sudden there is something there.
Take it, yeah. So always check Drone Assist before you fly.
And also there might be other people now submitted flight plans. So before you go flying, have a look. If there are other drone operators operating in that area, at least you're aware of it. Under VLOS conditions, you take a good look before you go flying.
Right. So next colour on our chart. Yellow.
Yellow, yeah. So these are just highlighting a hazard again. So what we have are there's airspace hazards, or it could be a ground hazard. A ground hazard could be a restriction, let's say, critical national infrastructure, a railway line. Don't overfly a railway line below 50 metres. It could be privacy hazards, playgrounds, schools, things like that, where perhaps you shouldn't really be flying a drone, especially when, let's say, people are at school. If you were to have an accident or a drone was to fall out of the sky, you don't want hitting kids and stuff. And obviously the privacy things. So the yellow is there to highlight a potential hazard, and you should think again or think about whether you should be operating or not, or just be aware of the potential increased risk of operating your drone. That's a ground hazard, but it could also happen to airspace. For example, you could have a venting site. A venting site could have a draft of air going upwards off the ground. Well, if you fly your drone over that, all of a sudden it could be bimmeling along at 50 feet. Next thing you know, it's 150 feet because it's something blown up into the air. So you just need to think about it could potentially disrupt your drone operation.
And I guess likewise as well with yellow on Drone Safety Map and Drone Assist. I also think of London and the helicopter routes into London.
Absolutely, good point.
Those are yellow, I think.
Yeah, they are. They're highlighted yellow. Yeah. Special VFR routes. So again, you're going to be operating in an area where there's going to be helicopters in that case. You're very, very small. They're quite big. They are massively restricted. They have to stick to those heli routes. And therefore, you need to think about before you operate your drone in that area.
Fantastic. And then I guess finally, red.
Red, yeah.
So always, it's a colour that usually strikes danger.
Absolutely.
Or it's urgent. It's a call to action. So what do we do when we see red on Drone Assist?
Get mad. No, no. With the red, it is an airspace restriction. I would suggest, under good airmanship, under good practice, submit a flight plan. Try and find out the airspace manager, the authority, before you go flying there. That is not necessarily mandatory.
So two things here. So, well, one thing, red doesn't necessarily mean you cannot fly there.
Correct. So what we have done on our maps around the world is we have put red down and we're saying there's a restriction to your flight. We have erred on the side of caution. Okay, so we haven't gone like, oh yeah, well, it's not necessary, you don't have to, but ... Put a red there. Let's say you can't fly, or let's find out about that bit of airspace before you go flying. So for example, there's an area in Lincolnshire called Romeo 313. It's where the RAD air is practice. It's a column of air over Scampton. That is not always active, but on our map it'll always be shown as red because it gets activated by a NOTAM effectively, or especially in the summer when the RAD airs are practicing, it'll just get activated from Monday to Friday, 9 o'clock till 5 o'clock. We'll see it as red, but outside of those hours it isn't active. But you never know, the red arrows might say, we couldn't get some training in early on today, we want to do an evening training session, therefore they'll activate it very, very quickly. It's definitely not a no-fly zone unless it is active, but it is always red. But please, please, please go and find out beforehand. So it's red, there's potentially a massive restriction there, err on the side of caution, show good airmanship and find out whether that thing is active or whether it is safe to operate your drone there.
So another example, like London, massive air, I mean, obviously the airspace of London is very complicated. You've got this, the FRZ of Heathrow.
Yes.
But you've also got lots of CTRs over London. So do you necessarily need to get permission to fly in the CTR or the FR? Well, obviously the FRZ you do.
FRZ you have to, yes. Yeah.
But the CTR?
No, depending on the classification of your drone, it will depend on whether you need to get approval to access a CTR. So if you're flying a very, very small light drone, you can go up to your standard open category operations, go up to 400 feet, you don't need to inform people. But again, you've got to think about why is that CTR established in the first place? Guess what? There's a lot of flying going on in that airspace. So wouldn't it actually be quite good to submit a flight plan, get something submitted, at least it could be promulgated and everybody can see that actually somebody flying there, and if required it can be forwarded to the appropriate authority and the authority can go, yes, go ahead with that flight. It's all about airmanship, this is. You know, there's a lot of, if you go by the letter of the law, you're probably allowed to operate in many, many areas. But come on, the skies are getting busier. We want to show and demonstrate a responsible drone industry, responsible drone operators. So let's think about the airmanship and let's think about it's far better to inform people about my flight than just to keep it quiet and keep it a secret. So, as always, err on the side of caution and be safe.
File a flight.
File a flight plan.
Check drone assist.
Drone assist, absolutely.
Brilliant.
Drone safety map even.
Indeed. Well, same thing. Well, not same thing, but anyway. Anyway, so thank you for listening. This was On Air. Thank you, Binksy. And yeah, we'll see you again soon.